Urgent reaction. This is how cargo ships fight pirates without guns. But I don't know what you think. Captain Phyllis is like, look at me now, look at me. I'm the captain now. That's the one. Somalia pirates thing. Even South Park made an episode about this. Okay, so I'm guessing this is the thing in the first fucking frame. They throw water at them like a riot. People how like stops riot. That's how. Okay, so I'm pretty sure like all the pirates come with some kind of like AK-47 or something, right? This is gonna be really interesting video because of it. Because I don't know, like cargo ships are not like naval ships. It's not military ships, right? I'm guessing they must have some kind of defenses because they are literally on international water, right? They have to be armed, I guess. But how armed? What is the anti-piracy thing at place? What are the guidelines for them? Like if like pirates do board, what are they supposed to do or something? This is my channel. Know what you think. Know what you think is great channel for things like this. It's gonna be interesting. So yeah. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe so that way I know which type of videos to react to more. I've been watching a lot of videos like this, know what you think video and others as well. So if you haven't seen them, check out the link in the description or in the end of the video end card. And yeah, let's go this one.
This is what a cargo ship does to protect itself from armed pirates trying to get on board. I know what you're thinking. What can water do against AK-47s? In reality, water cannons
Oh, there we go.
are actually pretty effective in preventing pirates from getting on board. But I agree with you, water guns are quite underwhelming as a weapon, especially considering that if pirates somehow manage to get on board, it is game over for the ship's crew.
That's an
Not that
RPG.
they would be killed, but they could be taken hostage for weeks or months, and in some cases, for many years. But what happened when Somali pirates attacked the
5 years? Imagine that you're a worker on a cargo ship getting like basic payment you get. Just everyday worker, like okay, I work like staying away with your family already, and then you get taken hostage and 5 years after they release you. Damn.
US Navy cruiser and destroyer at the same time. Why many commercial ships don't simply carry real weapons to protect themselves against criminals. Why these extremely loud speakers can be deafening to pirates, even if they wear earplugs. How the simple attachment turns a hose into a weapon. And if all that fails, what the crew could do to get rid of armed pirates who've successfully boarded the ship is not what you think.
Just have like something like M2 Browning on both sides and have one angry guy man it. See a ship coming, that's it, light it up. I don't know, wouldn't that work? Make this into a
There
Far
are two
Cry game.
layers of defense that most commercial ships employ against pirate attacks. First is the discouragement layer, which is equivalent to installing a security camera outside your house. It doesn't physically stop anybody, but it will discourage some burglars from targeting your house. The second layer is the anti-boarding layer, which is similar to having a security gate at your house to make break-ins much more difficult. For commercial ships, the discouragement layer could start with placing dummies around the ship to give the impression of greater numbers of crew on watch. In addition, lasers could be used to mess with the pirates' visuals as they approach. The ship could also increase her speed, since boarding a fast-moving vessel is much more difficult and dangerous for pirates. But long-range acoustic devices, or LRADs, are probably one of the most effective tools for discouragement. As soon as the crew notices any suspicious boats approaching them, they could use LRADs to communicate with that boat.
Unidentified small craft. You are now considered a threat to this vessel.
And if that doesn't stop the pirates,
Look, I respect all of this. I understand psychology of warfare. But if there are some people who took a dinghy boat to basically take over a boat and try to make money, they're not going to be discouraged by all these things. Hey, I see you. Just go back. I can see you now. It's like this like Family Guy joke, right? Who's that like Aquaman's just like watching somebody getting, attacked on the beach. It's like, hey, I see you now. You're going to be in trouble. This is basically Family Guy joke right now.
LRADs could play a very loud tone, which could be as loud as standing behind a jet engine and directed toward the boat, which is very uncomfortable, if not deafening. Now you might think the pirates could simply wear earplugs, but according to one manufacturer, that wouldn't be very effective. That's because sounds can still travel to your inner ear through vibration of the bones in the skull, which is how bone conduction headphones work. In some cases, this might be enough discouragement.
So they'll get a bone conduction headphones. They'll figure it out. Oh, wait a minute. In America, there is a headphone you can get. I'll order it through Amazon or something wherever I live because Amazon goes everywhere. And there you go. I mean, it's not that much. It's not going to be that much costly, is it?
For criminals who might turn around and look for the next easier target instead. That said, pirates who are serious could shoot the Arat and destroy it. And
Oh,
that's
yeah, you
where
can
the
do
second
that.
layer of anti-boarding equipment comes into play. This is a simple yet effective weapon to stop boats. It shoots out a rope that stays on the water surface and then tangles up the engine propeller as the boat crosses over it. Now take that same principle, apply it to cargo ships, and you get this. A series of trailing wires that can be brought out on the sides and the stern of the ship. If a boat tries to get too close,
Oh.
there's a good chance that this would stop them and make them think twice. A quick stop like this could in fact be dangerous for the pirates.
What about the hovercrafts?
Water cannons are another effective tool to prevent unwanted onboarding.
Yeah, but wouldn't that like the cable thing, if it like spreads that much outside, wouldn't that be just enough to like stop them? Because they're literally stuck at that point. I'm pretty sure they're not going to use hovercraft, right? I don't know. They're just going to use simple boats. If you can just do that, they're stuck there. Isn't that like enough of preventive measure? Like, I don't know.
The cannon's water pressure can be used as a deterrent for pirates, just like they're used for riot control. But the cannons could also fill up an approaching boat and potentially sink it. Some cannons are remote operated so the crew can use them from a safe distance without having to worry about being fired at.
Imagine your boat is coming, like small yacht size boat is coming, right? Trying to board a cargo ship, and somebody literally just starts a water pump and just like fill your boats up. Like, oh my god, we're gonna sink, and you just see a worker just eating a Snicker or something, just giving finger him off something. There you go. And while his boat is like filling up and like sinking, that is insane flex. That is better than any weapon you could use.
Some other ones are fixed, but shoot water in all different directions to hinder onboarding. And some others have rotating heads, which consistently spray water on the side.
Like, what if you like instead of water have some kind of a crude oil? Just release it when at the right moment. Won't that be enough slippery that nobody can board it?
Sides of the ship. And then there is the water curtain. This specially designed sinker weight keeps the nozzle down near the water's surface, and the restrictive nozzle at the end ensures that the water coming out does so at high pressure. This makes the long hose lash about unpredictably and violently. It would definitely hurt to get hit by this thing, and if you have several of them down the side of the ship, it would make it quite difficult to climb on board.
I mean, they'll wear thick clothes and helmet. I don't know.
The good old barbed wire or razor wire can also be used to prevent pirates from climbing on board using a ladder. Rolls of razor wire could be brought on the deck and quickly set up whenever needed. An alternative approach is to use safety barriers. These barriers can be simply attached to the sides of the ship and keep pirates out by preventing them from latching their ladders on the perimeter of the ship. Even with a rope, they are difficult to climb over due to their shape and the gap that they create for the climber. All the anti-boarding measures that were mentioned were designed to protect cargo ships against pirates who approach them on small boats. Never was it imagined that intruders would board a cargo ship from the sky.
Yeah,
As
they
it
got
happened
it, yeah.
on November 19, 2023, when a helicopter approached the Israeli-owned cargo ship Galaxy Leader on a Red Sea shipping route and dropped off a handful of
Yeah, but these were Houthi attacks. It wasn't just started by any pirates, right? Right?
armed Houthi rebels, and from the looks of it, also a professional videographer.
I mean,
The rebels
GoPro
surprised
probably.
the 25 crew members and took him hostage. But is there anything that the crew of Galaxy Leader could have done to save their ship? In any hijacking scenario, once the attackers are on board, there's really only one thing that the crew could do to force the hijackers to leave. And I'm not talking about a gunfight. If everything else fails, the best thing to do is for the crew to issue a mayday to notify authorities, then shut off the vessel and go into a safe room that cannot be penetrated by the pirates. Pirates typically don't have the capability to operate the vessel, and if they cannot take anyone hostage, they have no leverage. They'll be most likely forced to leave before the Navy or Coast Guard arrives. But with the Galaxy Leader, the element of surprise from the sky made this option impossible. The Galaxy Leader, which is a car carrier, had no cars on board at the time, but the Houthis who hijacked it didn't care. This is because the Houthis' hijacking was politically motivated. And this is why, as of January 2024, the Houthi rebels have anchored the ship in a bay off the coast of Yemen and turned it into a bit of a tourist attraction, apparently worthy of a selfie. But when it comes to the good old pirates,
That's insane, man. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody just walking around, just like, oh, look at that, we took this ship. What if some Americans or British naval ship decide, like, fuck that, just bomb that ship? We can't have a hostage like that. All those people on board, they would just basically die. Every time anything that's like, let's just say, hot in any way, people just treat it as like some normal thing. It's like, you do realize a bomb, a missile could drop on the ship. If they decide like there's too much thing for them to have, we might as well destroy it. I don't know. It didn't even cross their mind once. Like kids and everybody was walking around there. That's insane. I still don't get it. Like, okay, you're in international water, you need to defend yourself. Just have a 50 cal machine gun mounted on both sides. I don't know.
their motivations and goals are completely different. Consider Somali pirates, for example. When they hijack a ship, their goal is to hold the ship and the crew hostage until a ransom is paid. A high-profile example of this was the 2008 hijacking of the Ukrainian cargo ship Faina by Somali pirates who held 20 people hostage on the ship for 4 months until they received $3.2 million in ransom, which was airdropped near the ship. The pirates left the ship the very next day, and the hostages made it out alive. In the Gulf of Guinea, there was a different type of attack going on. Those pirates would usually only go after the cargo that was on board and hold the ship and the crew until the cargo was transferred in a ship-to-ship operation.
Like how pirates used to do back then.
10 days, after which the vessel and the crew were usually set free.
Basically, they played Assassin's Creed Black Flag a lot. And like, okay, I guess we'll loot it and just let them go. Or tell them to join our team. That's not going to work.
There are, of course, ways to reduce the chances of becoming a target for pirates. For example, in light of the repeated Yemen-based Houthi attacks, as of December 28, 2023, half of the container ship fleet that regularly transits the Red Sea and Suez Canal to go from Asia to Europe is avoiding this route. They instead go around the entire African continent, which adds as much as a week to their voyage, increasing shipping costs and adding delays. Those who choose to continue using the old
Look at how small the canal is. Right? Look at that. You can see both sides. It's insanely small.
route end up paying higher insurance premiums. But isn't it easier to just arm the crew with guns so they can protect themselves against attacks? In theory, yes, but there are legal and practical limitations. In international waters, merchant ships are governed by the state regulations of the flag that they're flying. If the flag's state permits, they can carry weapons. But the problem begins when those ships start going from port to port and country to country, where possession of firearms is illegal. The legality issue
That
aside,
is stupid.
the ship's crew are there to operate the ship, not to fight against pirates. I don't mean to open a can of worms, but to me, it's a bit like asking teachers in America to carry firearms in case of a
That have people on the board. They're there to defend it, right? This is not the same analogy about schools. Schools are different things, right? These are literally going on international water, feeding people, attacking it, right? This is the thing. It's like armored truck not having people to defend it. Whenever armored truck passes, like with money or whatever, they're gonna have people inside who can defend it with guns and things, right? So all these ships like have some people, and again with the law. I don't know. That's just stupid. Have treaties with these countries. Like, do you want your fucking cargo? Then we're gonna need guns. I mean, come on. This is insane.
School shooting. I would think most teachers wouldn't want that responsibility. This is why some ships hire private security companies that can accompany them in private zones, and they're generally vetted by port state control, so that indeed the ship could enter sovereign waters with arms being on board. All that said, historically, whenever piracy has become a really big issue, that's when the big guns come out. I'm of course talking about the navies. For example, in the early 21st century, piracy in Somali waters became quite popular, and at its height in 2011, Somali pirates carried out 212 attacks. The World Bank estimated those attacks to cost the world economy $18 billion. Given the severity of the problem, the US and coalition vessels from Combined Task Force 150 began actively pursuing pirate vessels in an attempt to deter them. But on March 18, 2006, a number of Somali boats engaged with the US Navy destroyer USS Gonzalez and the cruiser USS Cape St. George.
How?
The pirates started shooting at the ships with RPGs and other firearms. In response, the American ships returned fire with small caliber guns.
Imagine those dinghy boats shooting one RPG or some bullets and they're just looking at them like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Do you see me? Do you know my size? Do you know what I am?
As part of this, a large pirate skiff was set on fire by a 50 caliber tracer round fired from USS Gonzalez, which burned it to the waterline. Historically, a big role of navies around the world has been securing merchant routes and fighting piracy, which is why after repeated attacks by Houthi rebels on commercial ships in the Red Sea that crippled global shipping, as well as their attacks on US naval vessels, on January 11, 2024, the US and British forces carried out airstrikes on targets throughout Yemen as a response to the Houthi militia. On January 17, 2024, the United States announced the Houthis, also known as Ansar Allah, as a specially designated global terrorist group, which means no more water guns for the Houthi rebels.
I mean, yeah. yeah.
Also known.
Oh, this is insane. Obviously, this video is like newer, February 2. Okay, I didn't even know that. I saw 3 million. I'm like, must have been someone wrote. No, it's like one of the newer ones. 3 million views. Okay. Obviously, this is like post Houthi attack thing. And what happened to that? Are the US Navy and British Navy and everybody just like still there trying to like guide and transport things? Is it still there, intensified? Is it dialed down? What happened there? This whole Houthi attack and things like, yeah, that was like political thing more than anything. So that's why helicopters, otherwise Somali pirates, and although they are not using helicopters, come on. But yeah, what about the Somali pirate thing? Has that dialed down? I'm guessing by now it must have dialed down somewhat. I don't know. To me, it just feels weird. Like, it's an international water, right? There are no laws on international water. Then there is, wait a minute, whatever flag you're using, that law applies there. Fine, I guess. I don't know. Like, there's to me feels like there must be some kind of like a gray zone. Like how hard of a law that is, right? Then like if you go to like a port and somewhere now that country's laws applied. Okay, tell that to country you need your fucking cargo, whatever you are, like crude oil and everything. Yeah, then like cargo ships can carry guns. Let's just say, right? Because otherwise, like yeah, we get taking too much losses. And as far as like people operating ships, yeah, have few like trained, like mercenary type people on the ship, mandatory with every ship. I don't know. I'm pretty sure insurance goes high as well. Like whenever shit like this happens, this way insurance will get better as well. I don't know. Hey, you can do that. I don't know, like two machine guns as both side that covers like a 360 degrees, 180 each. I don't know. They can basically deter it, right? Just having heard of that, like 50 cal machine guns is like blowing, anybody would just basically run away, right? Even with helicopter coming from the distance, you can use that machine gun probably to deter it. I don't know. Alright, well, this is how cargo ships fight pirates without guns. But I don't know what you think. If you like my next, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you next time.